Great to be with you all today. Yurii and I are going to spend the next 30 minutes having a bit of a kind of fireside conversation, getting to know one another's work in and around the Ukraine crisis. So to kick us off, Yurii, you were on the ground in Kiev the day of the invasion, working professionally as a community builder and community manager. Tell me about that day. Tell me about how things changed.
Yeah, thank you very much, George, for asking. It was crazy. So it's one of those days you will never want to have in your life, because we woke up like at 4 or 5 a.m. hearing these bombs, like rockets, like flying to Kiev, and we was like, are those explosions? No, maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe not. So it was really scary for sure. So I wish nobody will ever have this feeling. And at the point before the war started, I was running 4 communities of experts. So it's Sales Hero community, it's SEO Club community, Marketing Club, and CPC Real Talks. Those are communities of experts in Ukraine. So we talk about sales, SEO, paid advertisement, and marketing. And when the war started, like all communities start talking about this. So start sharing news, start sharing their information. And it was super big amount of messages, sometimes same messages, resharing some same news. So I basically had to shut down those communities. So people were still there, but they didn't have an opportunity, the possibility to write messages, because it was like very noisy. And I created one community. I named it Ukrainian Hero Help, where I collected people from all of those communities. For sure, not everyone joined it, because in my communities, it was like from 300 people to 4,000 people. And in general, near 500 people joined this Ukrainian Hero community. So what I did, I collected the most active people, and we started talking, we started helping each other, we started sharing like relevant information, relevant news. Like if somebody asks question like how to move somewhere, or are there any news about something, like people there helped each other. So when the crisis started, when the war started, we kind of mobilized. So we collect the best people from all other communities in one place to help each other. So, and it really worked. Like people were willing to help each other. And at this moment, I understood that Ukraine became one of the biggest community in the world, because it was happening not only in my communities, let's say, but in the whole country in general. But also, George, I understand that it wasn't just in Ukraine that communities were mobilizing in response to the crisis caused by war, right? So what did you see, and how did Meta work to support them?
Thanks, Yurii. I mean, I can't imagine what it was like for you on that day and the days and months since, really. I mean, what we saw was about 5 million people in just a matter of weeks joined 4,000 plus Facebook groups aimed to work together to help Ukrainian refugees. So it was a massive mobilization, principally in kind of Poland, Romania, Moldova, the chief countries that people were exiting Ukraine into, but also increasingly all around the world. So there was this huge wave of mutual aid. Part of it was kind of existing communities who turned over to focus on the crisis and what they could do to help, but a vast majority of them were brand new. And these communities weren't set up by kind of traditional humanitarian professionals. You know, they weren't set up by people working in aid agencies. They were set up by ordinary citizens who wanted to do something extraordinary. And we really saw it, you know, just to give kind of 2 examples. Marta lives in Warsaw, and she heard that tens of thousands of refugees were arriving into Warsaw Central train station. So one evening after work, she called her friends, they got some sandwiches, and they went to the train station to give them out and make sure people had something to eat. And what they found was kind of chaos. You know, thousands upon thousands of people arriving, often with just the clothes on their back, often very traumatized, with nowhere to go, no one to help them. And that day they started Grupa Centrum. It's a community of 7,500 volunteers who worked every day, every week, every month, 24 hours a day at Warsaw Central Station to make sure everyone who arrived was greeted with a warm smile and a hug. They were given a sandwich, some water, clothes if they needed. Over the kind of coming days, they developed referral pathways so they could help people find accommodation, medical support, legal advice. And so they did extraordinary work really at the kind of key route that people were using to escape the violence. Another example is Asmara, who's in Germany. She was on the phone to a friend watching TV when she heard about the plight of African immigrants, lots of students who were studying in Ukrainian universities who were trying to escape the violence, but were getting stuck at the border and facing discrimination. So she went live with her community and she said, folks, we're going to raise the money, we're going to find the drivers, we're going to get the buses, we're going to go and get those people out. And amazingly, they did it. They organized 9 coaches, they got hundreds of people out, and they brought them back to Germany, where they've been helping them rebuild their lives. So we saw kind of story after story of kind of amazing people stepping up to support one another. And at Meta, what we tried to do was really just get behind them, support them in every way we could. So we identified the 10 largest, most engaged communities helping Ukrainian refugees. We got in touch with them and we worked with them one-on-one to support their work. And the first thing we saw was that for many of these admins, they were stepping up, but they'd never run a Facebook group before. And if you can imagine how quickly these groups were growing, doing this urgent humanitarian work, it's like a steep learning curve. So we developed specialist educational materials for community managers working in times of crisis to help them use the tools as effectively as possible to help others. And then we shipped it to the 4,000 groups. We also see lots of these groups grow unbelievably quickly. There was one community in Poland that grew to 600,000 people in just 10 days, focused on helping Ukrainian refugees find accommodation. So when the product grows like that, it really stretches the product to its limits. So we were on hand to make sure that if things broke or they got stuck, if there was an issue with someone's account, they could get it resolved. And again, we were able to extend that support to all 4,000 communities so they could do their work uninterrupted. I think the last thing we did was, Facebook groups are a very mature product. There are loads of features, you can do lots of different things with them. But if you're a brand new admin operating in a moment of crisis, it can be quite overwhelming, right? There's a lot of different tools at your disposal. So seeing this challenge, we created in just 10 days, the product teams did extraordinary work to create a custom feature set called Emergency Relief, which means now when you start a Facebook group, within the flow, you can choose what features you want, but you can also just say, I just want a custom feature set that's tailored for emergency relief. So you get a group that's pre-configured to set you up for success as you try and help others. And one of the most amazing things we've seen is, this was adopted thousands and thousands and thousands of times, but increasingly not even just in this Ukrainian response work. We see groups using these tools to support people fleeing droughts or famines or fires or floods all over the world. And it is an amazing testament to the work of those community leaders that the tools that were built for them are now being used all over the world. So yeah, we just tried to get alongside and support this amazing wave of kind of civic and social mobilization. And Yurii, I guess I'm really curious, on the ground in Ukraine, how did that international mobilization touch you? How did it touch your communities? How did it impact on people? What was your experience?
Like the main part of my experience that I lost my income. So because my main source of income was sales courses and events I was doing, and it was really like this moment when all you have doesn't matter because you can lose everything in 1 second. And at this moment, I was thinking, okay, so what am I gonna do? I have no income, I have wife, I have kid, I have 2 dogs. What I'm gonna do? So I reached out to David Spinks and asked him for help. Hey David, I'm here in Ukraine. I'm a community manager and community builder. I have some experience. And can you help me? Can you help me to find some job in the community space? Because I need to have some money to buy some food. And it was really amazing how the power of community works. So David Spinks sent a message on Facebook, on Slack, in the CMX community, and just right away, amazing Steve Gargiulo from Cultivators community made a post, and we connected with him. I started working with him, and with amazing Lisa, we are still working on Cultivators community. And once again, thanks to David and Beth, I made an audit for CMX community. So I kind of start consulting practice. Even though I've never worked internationally before with the communities, even though I learned that the word community exists 2 years ago, even though I have seven years of experience running communities, but I didn't know how to call it. So that's exactly how community helped me. And that's why I'm here today, because like just one question, can you please help me? Glad that I'm sharing my knowledge right now with you and all those amazing people from the CMX community and also community club. Like those are brilliant people who are so amazingly open. Like if you just tell like I need some help, they are here to help. Sometimes you don't even have to tell. So that's exactly what community is doing. And also like after I find some gig for me, after I started working, like maybe not even after, maybe parallel, I understood that not only me have the situation. There were a lot of SEO experts, a lot of marketers, great marketers from Ukraine who also struggled because all their projects frozen. And I created a like, simple Google document file, and I collected all those people who reached out to me. I told them, hey, please reach out to me. Tell me what work, what job are you looking for? I will share it. I will share this file with as many people as I only can. So that's exactly what I did. I shared this file with every community. I shared this file with every person I was talking about. So I was saying like, hey, these people lost their jobs. They're amazing experts. And they're really amazing experts because I know them. I know them personally. So that's also the power of the community. There were not a single person like from the street who I didn't hear of or who I didn't meet. So there was people from the community. I know them. Like I can like be for them. If they're doing some job, they will do it 200% super cool. So that's how I also tried to share help I received and help other people. And also what's interesting that like Ukrainian hero help was very relevant in the first 1 or 2 months of war, because then we like it's strange, but we got used to it and we understood that lives continue and we need to return to our life. So there became some news channels, some we understood the sources where we need to find information and all the stuff. We understood who we need to help and how we can do it. So very like a big amount of volunteers arose. So it was easy then. So this Ukrainian hero help community was relevant at the like first point. So it's like the point of first contact. And after that, it became silent. So it became inactive and people returned to professional communities. I opened them and people continue helping each other in their professional life because everyone needs to make some money. Everyone needs to feed their families. So we kind of returned to life, even though we have air raid sirens practically every day and rockets flying in Ukrainian cities every day. We're still continue helping each other because otherwise we may lost already. We may get killed already if we won't help each other. So that's exactly how communities are saving people's lives. So I don't like I believe in community like 300%. And if somebody still do not believe in the community, like just listen to this story and understand that communities literally saving people lives. And George, what do you think mobilizations like this mean for community and community management going forward?
Thanks, Yurii. I mean, thank you for sharing your experience. I can't imagine what that's been like, and to both return to kind of trying to be in normal life while war continues. I can't imagine. So I really feel for you and colleagues in Ukraine. Um, I think it's easy to forget that kind of mutual aid movements, that the kind of work you're talking about, the ways in which people support each other, this predates kind of modern humanitarian organizations, Save the Children, IRC. It predates the UN. You know, for as long as there have been human beings and as long as there have been crisis, we've known to turn to one another and to turn to community at times of crisis. I think what's changed is that technology has enabled us to connect faster, at greater scale, and across geographies in ways that were never possible before. So it's meant that these kind of community, mutual aid, humanitarian assistance movements can grow quicker, become more complex, more impactful, and can operate at a scale that was never kind of really possible before. So I think we see these mobilizations happening all over the world, both in response to the Ukraine crisis, but as I shared before, also to kind of fires and floods. In my own country, in the UK, in the COVID pandemic, 3 million people joined mutual aid networks to make sure that others would be safe during the pandemic. So we think there are kind of three implications to this trend of kind of growing technologically enabled mutual aid. The first is it's a reminder that our community infrastructure really matters. That's both the technology that enables us to connect, but it's also the kind of communities we're part of already. You were able to reach out for help because you were part of CMX. In my home city, Bristol, when we went into lockdown, it was a mum's running group called This Mum Runs, who meet on Facebook and then go for runs together, who took responsibility and said, we're going to make sure that everyone gets delivered their medicine. Their prescriptions will be delivered to their door by us runners around the city. So our community infrastructure really matters, and we need to invest in it and pay attention to it. The second implication is that community management and community managers matter. The kind of connection and kindness and skill you described in the way you worked with your own communities, the way David and CMX worked with you, it's a bit of a kind of passion for me and the folks at Community Partnerships at Meta, which is we believe that community management really matters. It's not just the technology, it's the skill and the people behind it that help others organize at scale and at speed to help others during crisis. And just like other forms of kind of social, caring, and civic labor are almost always undervalued in modern society, we think it's time that community management was properly respected for the value that it's creating in the world. And that value never shines more brightly than at times of crisis like this. So the third implication is we think that the ecosystem really needs to change and come together. At the moment, those big international organizations, governments, UN agencies, they kind of ignore often mutual aid movements and community-driven efforts. Sometimes they even see it with some suspicion. And it's true, there are real risks when people take it upon themselves to help others. But I think what we want to see for certain at Meta is more of an enabling culture that says actually a lot can be done to support these movements to be really safe, really impactful, to move at speed, and to keep people safe and protected. And I think there are some kind of exciting examples of where that's starting to happen. Your example with CMX is one really exciting one. Another one that I was involved with, it's an amazing woman called Kirsty O'Callaghan in Essex, in the east of England, and she lost her dog. And so she posted on Facebook, and hundreds of people showed up to help her find the dog. Now, she worked at the local authority, the council, and in Essex, it's a very rural community. People are very spread out. So it can be quite hard to provide services to support them. But what Kirsty realized was that every village, every town has a Facebook group. Every single one has a Facebook page. So she worked with a group of 600 admins led by a guy called Simon Harris. And now every time there is a major challenge, whether it was COVID, Ukraine, the climate emergency, they mobilize communities in partnership with the local authority to deliver real impact. So in COVID, instead of having 500 tiny groups trying to keep people safe, in Essex they had one. 50,000 people joined it. 7,000 people started volunteering to support others sheltering during the lockdown. And so I think that's like a really exciting example of where governments and charities can connect and support kind of grassroots mobilization. And of course, I guess it's easy to forget that actually groups like Save the Children, the IRC, Oxfam, all of them actually started out as just ordinary groups of people in communities trying to help others. So we think there's a kind of coming together, and in the future, every humanitarian response organization should have community managers working at the heart to try and organize civic and social response too. I know for you, Yurii, we've talked a bit about the history of community in Ukraine. I'm really curious as to how you think that will have changed as a result of this experience. How does community, how has that changed in the Ukrainian kind of imagination?
Yeah, thank you for asking, George. And in Ukraine, as I told you, like from my perspective, I may be wrong, but from my perspective, the word community is still like not a buzzword at all. So in Ukraine, community is still like an audience. So that's what marketers use to sell products or to invite people to events or all this stuff. So people still think that if they collect like thousands of people like in an email list, or if they collected them in Facebook group, it's a community. But basically, it's just one more channel to sell their products. And the real community is where not only you have this communication like one to many, like brand, like some marketer make posts every day with some exciting information about the product or something like that. That's exactly where people can talk, where they can share everything about the product, if we are talking about product communities, when they can share their challenges, when they understand that they won't be shut down, that people will hear them, that people will help them. And talking about my experience and all of these experiences with the community world, exactly, people knew each other before the war, so that's why they were willing to help each other when the war started, because it's hard to help a stranger. Let's be honest, it's hard to help a stranger. You don't know who this person is, and the war showed us that sometimes friends are not friends at all, and those people who you were supposed are not your friends are your real friends because they help you. Other people can like run away from the problem. And I believe that in Ukraine, that this experience will show the power of the unity. So why people have to collect together, why they have to stick together, and why they have to help each other, because that's a community world when you just interested in other people's lives, and you can share with them your life and be sure that they will be there for you when you need, and you will be there for them. So I believe this experience, it's crazy to say, but I believe that the war will help our Ukrainian people to understand that it's not just a country, it's all people around, and we need to unite, and only together we can face any difficulty and even win the war. So yeah, basically that's it. And how do you think, George, what are, like, from your side, from Meta side, what are the next steps for the Meta to scale this experience? Maybe in Ukraine, maybe in other countries. What do you think about that?
Thanks, Yuri. I think at Meta, our first priority is always going to be the product. We're going to focus on building the best tools we can to support others to bring people together. Our company's mission is to give people the power to bring others together and build a closer world. And so I think that's first and foremost always going to be our focus. So the whole time our product teams are working to ship new product features that can help you and leaders like you bring others together, both for the kind of good parts of life, to share the kind of joys, our common interests and our passions, and the tools that help us respond to crisis. Just yesterday, we launched a community chat feature, which is a feature through which groups can have multiple chats, so you can connect in kind of sub pods and sub pillars. We saw firsthand how useful that kind of capability would have been with someone like Grupa Centrum in Warsaw. So they could have had a chat for everyone working on food, a chat for everyone working on accommodation, a chat for everyone working on legal assistance or medical assistance. So our first priority is going to always be building the product, giving people the tools to do this amazing work out there in the world. On the team I'm a part of, the community partnerships team, we'll always be trying to work to get alongside the community builders, people like you, to see what the company can do beyond just shipping products to help support you all to thrive and to grow. So we're just in the middle of launching our community Accelerator program for this year, which will see 100 top communities around the world receive an amazing package of funding, support, training from the company. I'm also very passionate about our certification, which is a kind of gold standard professional grade accreditation community managers can get to demonstrate that really important skill set you and I were talking about, to make sure that it's recognized, so that when you approach a brand or a charity to say, hey, I really do have these skills, you have the backing of Meta standing behind you saying, yes, this person's like extremely capable, really talented, is brilliant at bringing others together. Because coming back to your point just now, I think basically everyone is trying to solve the same problem. Whether you're in government and delivering public services, whether you're in a non-profit trying to help people, whether you're a business trying to sell, ultimately you need to be in relationship with people and you want them to participate. And I think communities are the relational vehicle in which people participate. and reciprocate. So I think community is a huge part of the future of all of our sectors. And at Meta, we'll be doing our bit to try and build the tools for it to thrive and to get alongside you with programs like the Accelerator and certification, so that you can grow and do what you need to do too. Thanks, Yurii. It's been a fantastic conversation. I'd love to hear any kind of final reflections you'd like to give on this kind of really important theme of kind of crisis and community.
Tell, not sell. That's exactly why the word of mouth exists. So you won't, like brands spend like millions of dollars for marketing and all this stuff, but only one sentence from your friend can make you buy everything and or do something. So it's all about people. It's all about feedback. It's all about being open and honest with each other. Even if you don't want to, let's say, if you can't help, if person asks you for something really hard, that it will take you I don't know, few days to help and you don't have that time. Just be honest. Tell them hey, I don't have this time, but I can show you where you can find it. So at least show the direction to a person. And even this tiny help means a lot. It's much better to not answer at all. And you won't receive these answers if you won't receive them if you don't know each other, if you don't trust each other. So basically, community are for people-to-people communication and for building this trust, which leads to amazing results in the future. And it helps change our life for the better. And, maybe one day we won't have wars at all. Maybe one day we'll just live a great, happy life and we'll be happily ever after, like in all fairy tales. You never know. At least we can impact on it. At least communities can impact on it. So let's build communities, people.
What a great way to end that wonderful conversation. Of course, it was a very moving conversation. I think everyone agrees that this was one of the most meaningful conversations about community and the state of things that are happening. And it's going to, of course, open up a lot of avenues in people's minds and, answer and come up with new questions as well. Also, George, sharing those wonderful and mind-blowing statistics was just great. Thank you very much for that one as well. And of course, Yurii, what can we say? We really cannot get more a more authentic next day account of things that have happened in terms of community and the things that are happening right now that we are just watching and seeing. So just we've got one question. We've got time for that one. Kelly's asked, thank you for sharing. I think a big question or issue we have in crisis is how to deal with misinformation, and wondered how we can keep on top of this in groups when we do respond to crisis.
Great question. Yurii, how about I go first, and then I'm sure you've got a ton of experience to add. Yeah, I think this is a major challenge. At Meta, of course, we're making kind of enormous investments, particularly in artificial intelligence, to help detect misinformation before it's even kind of published on our platform and to take it down. And we're trying to build kind of new features in groups that can help you keep your group safer. So, we have this amazing tool, Admin Assist, which helps you automate some of the administrative work of running a Facebook group. And you can pick rules that help drive misinformation out of your community. I do think, though, there's kind of no substitute for the work of the community manager here. People who are in relationship with others, who are really listening, who are paying attention. And we can learn a lot from you as a company about how you will work to keep misinfo out of your communities. And I think we need to build products that can help support you to do that more effectively. And the only way we're going to do that is by really listening and getting alongside you as you try and kind of squeeze it out. I do think, though, having kind of deep roots in community, having trust with people within it, that's the way to really ensure that the key information that's most significant can be shared widely and truthfully and accurately at a critical moment. So yeah, that would be some perspective from my side. Yurii, how about you?
Yeah, thank you very much. And from my side, I cannot check every piece of information people send for sure. So it's all about, I tell people hey, if you are posting something, please make sure that you check this information. Make sure that if it's from a person you know personally, or it's from your good friend or your good neighbor or something like that. So you are responsible for what you are posting. It's all about trust. If people keeps posting crazy information, one day, it's like this fairy tale about the person who shouted out, "Wolf, wolf," and then wolf came in. So if people will give misleading information, they lost their trust. They'll be out of the community, and that's all. See you later. So it's all about people.
Indeed. Thank you for these answers. And I think this is what we have time for this session. We would have loved the session to continue, but of course, we just have to end it here. So from all humans from four corners of the world, as they say in the old times, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for this wonderful session, eye-opening session, moving session, really important stuff. Again, yes, that will probably prevail a lot of things. Exactly, lots of love and lots of community that bounds us as humans. So thank you again, and all the very best for the future. We just keep our wishes, really. So this is the end of this session. So Yurii, George, thanks again.